In this feature review video, we'll show you how to export EvolveFM data into Excel spreadsheets to plan batch moves. Then we'll import the updated spreadsheet data back into EvolveFM to execute the batch move and update the occupant database. Those of you who watched the drag and drop video to move people will recognize this drawing. It's floor 3 of the building at 160 Canal Street, and I've themed this drawing to show you that available seats and any space with a green theme to it has an available occupancy of 1 person. So essentially this says I have 7 spaces on this floor that I could put people in. And in my little batch move demonstration here, we're going to find 7 people and move them into those spaces in batch mode. To do this, I first need to figure out what grids I need to export out to spreadsheets to affect what I want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the platform administration screen, which I have already opened here. And then I'm going to drill down to the occupant selection and occupant locations. And essentially this gives me a list of every occupant that I have in my occupants list and the floor and space that they occupy. And as you can see, any people shown here where there are no properties, buildings, floors, and spaces would indicate these people are currently homeless. They don't belong anywhere. So our goal will be to grab 7 people and put them in those 7 empty spaces we just showed you in the drawing a minute ago. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export the list. And I am going to open it. I'm going to get this file format message that I don't really care about. I'm going to say yes, I really do want to open the file. And I end up with a spreadsheet that essentially has all the people that I want to work with. So what's important to understand as you're looking at the resultant spreadsheet I have here is that the data here reflects pretty much exactly what you saw on that grid in Evolve, as you can see here from looking at the original grid. The next thing that I need to do is get some available spaces. So to do that, I'm going to go to the space grid and take a look at what I have. So to do that, I'll click on the space grid down here, which I've already opened. And again, here I have a list of all my spaces and what's available, etc. So what I want to do here is I want to get a subset. I'm not interested in spaces right now that people are in, or I'm also not interested in unoccupiable spaces. What I really want is a list of spaces in the 160 Canal Street building on floor 3 that have a planned head count greater than 0, meaning there's space for a person, and available seats greater than 0, meaning it's an empty seat. And to do that, I do my advanced searches function, which opens up these boxes so that I can set these search fields up the way I want to. And so I basically, some of these are teardowns where I pick the floor that I wanted, in this case 3, and I pick the building that I want. I can obviously have up to 6 different selections and sorts here to finely tune the data that I'm looking for. When I choose to run this search by clicking on the search button over here, you'll see that immediately my big bar here turns orange, indicating that I've done a search and I'm showing a subset of the data that's in this grid. And here's my list of available spaces. And it's this available list that I want to send out to Excel so that I can do some mixing and matching between the people that I have that are homeless and the spaces I have that are unoccupied. So what I'm going to do now is export to Excel these spaces. And to do that, I click on the More Actions button and click Export List. And in this case, I'm just going to say Open it. And I'm going to get that same message I got a minute ago. So I'm going to verify that even though it's in a different format, that I'm happy that this is what I want. And I'm going to get my list of available spaces. So just to keep it easy here, on the spreadsheet with my people, you'll see I've got a bunch of people here starting at line 21 or 22, that don't have a home. So basically everybody from 22 to 29 doesn't have a home. So I'm going to pick 7 of these people and make them the object of my move to fill the 7 spaces I have available. So the next thing I'm going to do is click on my tab down here, and I'm going to make a new spreadsheet. And I'm going to call this next tab here People to Move, and I'm going to copy the people that I want to move into the spreadsheet. So first I'm going to grab my title line in line 1, and I'm going to say copy that. And I'm going to hop over to my People to Move sheet and go here and say paste. And that way I'm making sure that I've got fields that match up, and so that when I go to import things back in, there won't be any confusion about what I'm bringing back in. Then I'm going to pick 7 people here. I'm going to pick lines, say 22 to 28 here. I'm going to grab all these people, and I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to go over to my People to Move section, and I'm going to paste them in over here. So now I've got a spreadsheet that just has the people that I want to actually move. And the information I need to get into columns G, H, I, and J here are the property, building, floor, and space that I want each of these people to get into. And that's what I'm going to pull off the vacant spaces spreadsheet that I exported out a few minutes ago. So I'm going to copy the space ID right here, and I'll grab those and say copy, and I'll paste them into the space ID column right here. And now I've got my spaces. Next thing I'll want is my properties, buildings, and floors, so I'll go back and get those now. So as you can see, my property, building, and floor columns are right together here, so I'm just going to grab all 3 of these and click on them and say copy. And I'm going back to my people sheet and click right in here and say paste. And I've got my property, buildings, and floors filled in. So now I essentially have complete data for the 7 people that are currently homeless that I want to move back into, those empty spaces on the 3rd floor of that building. So now we're almost ready to import this group of people back into the EvolveFM database and update the people fields. But in order to do that, there's a couple of housekeeping items I have to take care of. One thing that the import function doesn't like is it doesn't like spreadsheets with multiple tabs on it. So now that I don't need my original export group anymore, I can simply delete that tab off the form and make it go away. And so I'm going to say delete there. So now this spreadsheet only has this one tab on it. And since it's going to need a name of a spreadsheet to import, I am going to, at this point, save the spreadsheet. So now I've picked a folder where I want to store the spreadsheet, and I've given it a name, Dusty Move Project version 2. It's an XML spreadsheet, and that's the format I want to keep. So at this point, I'm going to say save. And I'm going to say keep the format and save it up. So now I've saved my spreadsheet. At this point, I can go back to the Evolve database. I go back to Advanced Data Imports, and I go to my occupants and occupant locations, and I click on the import list function. I go and find the project that I want, which is Dusty Move V2. I say open. That comes in right here, and then I can click the save button. It's going to take a look at everything. It's going to match up the fields that I have in the header of my spreadsheet to the columns of the database. In this case, everything's going to match up fine because I lined up the fields one for one, and I can click next, and it says it's going to pull in 7 updated records, and I'm going to say that's good. I'm going to say next. It's going to recognize the people that it's going to update here, and so it's giving me check boxes all the way so that I can kind of be sure what's going to happen, and I'm going to say next. It's going to import the list, and lo and behold, now I have people in all those spaces. So as we come back and look at our original drawing here, we can see that all the spaces now show a 0 availability, meaning that the 7 seats that we originally batch filled a minute ago are now full. The other thing we can do here is we can zoom a window. Let's go into one of those seats and just take a look at a couple of things that you might find interesting. So we come into C3-920, which is one of the vacant spaces we filled, and if I double click on it, if I click select and I double click on it, form opens up. I go into occupants, and indeed I can see the person that I moved in here either last night or today, last night. And what I can do now, if I click on history, get a good look at some things, and we can see that all the activity that went on in this space over the last few days as I was playing with this particular function and dragging and dropping people in and dragging and dropping them out, etc. So the point here is that we do have a complete history of names of people and move in and move out dates. Okay. Start time and end time really refers to when this person lives here. It's not the time we move them in or the time we move them out, just so you're clear about what that is. And the nice thing about this approach to moving groups of people is that you can give these spreadsheets to people who don't normally use EvolveFM, and they can arrange the people the way they want them and give you those sheets back. Then someone who really understands Evolve can check those sheets to make sure the data makes sense before they import it back in, and that ensures the integrity of the database, which is really a good thing. And that wraps up our short presentation of how to do batch moves in EvolveFM. We hope you found this presentation helpful. Thanks for watching.